Remember Arrow Season 4, Episode 16, Broken Hearts, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode, especially because we've had to wait so long since the last episode, which you guys know I really love the last episode where, we met Oliver's son, and, Oliver finally told William what was going on, Felicity found out about Oliver and William. I mean, it was a chaotic episode, don't get me wrong, but it was a very rewarding episode, and really left us kind of on a downer, honestly, really left us on a dour note, but I like that because the season's been so positive that I kind of like that there's some darkness being thrown into it. But what I like is that there's not it's not completely dark. Like it's not like last season where it's devoid of completely any humor whatsoever. The characters are still the characters, and I love that. And this was another great episode. I really did enjoy this episode. There were some really great things about it. I liked the return of Cupid we got in this episode. But let's get in this episode because I really enjoyed it, and another really great one. So we start off with a young couple, and we see that they're bleeding and tied to chairs, and it kind of looks like something out of a horror movie. I mean, we hear Cupid, she's singing this love song. It's really creepy, and she grills the pair on how much they love each other, and when they pledge true love, she just kills them right then and there. I mean, I honestly, this was just crazy. The beginning of it, I'm like, this is like Friday the 13th or something. Just the way that she was whistling compared with the couple's fear and everything really is crazy, and she kills them, and we realize right away that she is still on this killing spree, and it's much worse, and we'll get into why. But I think Cupid is still is a great character. I loved her from last season, and I'm glad to see her back here. So in court, we see Dark's attorney insists that he was a victim, not a perpetrator, and that the case against him should be dismissed. That Dark is, not the one causing all this, that there are other people doing this, and that, he is in fact the victim. And the judge says before she does that she will hear evidence from Laurel, and, she wants to hear the whole side of the story. She wants to know exactly what's going on, and I like seeing that. And I like that there's a case starting up against Dark, which makes sense. I mean, Dark is a man that probably a lot of people know is bad, but he has so many people who join him, and he has so many people on his side that it's going to be seamlessly hard to defend him. I mean, to defend yourself against him, it just seems like it has to be, and that this is pretty much his case to win no matter what. And I think Laurel knows that, but Laurel does bring up everything that he's done to her and things like that. And I definitely really enjoyed seeing that. But I really did enjoy the court scenes this episode, definitely. I thought they were very well handled. Not as good as the way they're handling him in Daredevil or anything, I'll say that. Definitely. That's the one thing with Arrow and the Flash. When you're binging Daredevil, it is very weird to watch Arrow after you have watched Daredevil. It feels very weird. There's such different shows. The thing is, it's not as weird as going to the Flash, because the Flash, is such a completely different show than Daredevil. And Arrow is kind of the same tone as Daredevil. In fact, if anything, it's probably the more one closer to Daredevil out of all the superhero show out of all the broadcast superhero shows. Arrow's probably the closest to Daredevil, but I did like that they had some courtroom scenes, very good stuff, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And then we get to the heartbreaking scene in this episode. Honestly, these scenes were really sad. They were really hard to watch at points. We see at Oliver's apartment that Felicity's in the process of moving out, and you see that these two, they're still kind of friends or something like that. Like, they're still cordial, and it's mature, which I really enjoyed. I like the mature take on this. I like that they're not yelling at each other. I like that they're not not talking to each other. They're talking, but they have problems. And she asked Oliver right away, just cancel the wedding venue so that she can uninvite the guests, because she had all these guests and now she needs to uninvite them. And she's still like very, sassy and things like that, which I kind of like, as sassy Felicity. And she then asks about Team Arrow, and he says that she's of course still a part of the team, regardless of their status as a couple. He doesn't care. She's so good for the team, and they need her. They need someone. They need the Overwatch. You can't have Team Arrow without the Overwatch. You just need her. And it's really awkward for Felicity right now, obviously, because her and Oliver they've broken up, and it's weird for her to be in this, be the Overwatch when, the person that she's calling the shots to, she broke up with. And obviously it's very weird for her, which I don't blame her, honestly. I can totally understand why she doesn't really want to, be Overwatch anymore. I can understand that. But very tough scenes with them this episode. We'll get into that though. I didn't really care about the flashbacks in this episode. I didn't really just, the flashbacks, they were getting okay, but again, this episode they kind of seemed like an afterthought. They really did. In the flashbacks, Oliver, Tayana, Raider, and others make their way through a subterranean hallway. They come to the altar where there's a horned mask, and Raider says they came from an African village that was razed to the ground. And when Oliver challenges him on how different he'll be than the ones who burned his village down, he says that he's very different and shoots someone. So at the lair, Laurel then comes in to tell the team that she needs evidence and that the ghosts took their cyanide capsules, and Thea and Felicity offer to testify about their own abductions, and Felicity reveals to the team that that she's broken up with Oliver, which obviously they're really upset about, but it's also understandable after what happened, with him keeping his secret from her. And again, I have completely no problem with Felicity being mad at Oliver. I mean, it's gonna take a while. It really is gonna take a while, I think, for her to get over what's gonna happen. Do I think that Oliver and Felicity are gonna get back together at some point? Yes, I do think at some point they're gonna get back together. This is not the end of Oliver and Felicity. Definitely, I do think they're eventually gonna get back together. But something like this, it's gonna take a while because she really needs to think, I don't think she's thinking, should I trust Oliver? I think she's thinking, does Oliver fully trust me because of the fact that he didn't tell her? I mean, I think that's kind of what she's going through. That's why she's asking her to be part of Team Arrow, because she feels like her loyalties have been tested and that he doesn't feel she's loyal enough and that there are other people that he trusts over her. And of course, that's not what's going on. But I think in her mind, that's what she's thinking. That, oh my, does he trust me? Did I do something wrong? I think she really feels that way. She understands that he's definitely at fault, but I think she's also thinking, does he really trust me to, keep something like this? So Oliver's summoned to a crime scene by Lance, who shows him the bodies of two young lovers arranged in a heart shape around a note that says "Love is dead," and realizes that Cupid is back, which I really love Cupid's character at first, and I like seeing her again this episode. Back at the lair, Diggle reveals that Cutter worked her way off Task Force X. It turns out the victims were wealthy, engaged, socialites, and she's going after couples that seem to be very successful and seem to be very happy with themselves, and obviously she is kind of on this rampage now, and it's very interesting. So in court, Darhk's lawyer interrogates Diggle, saying that he has evidence that Diggle helped Thea buy cocaine, and after they all leave now obviously that's not true. Diggle did not give Theo cocaine, but Darhk's lawyer is very convincing, and after they all leave the courtroom, Team Arrow is worried that Darhk's lawyer will unmask them all as vigilantes, and that's what's going to happen, that he's going to reveal who each one of them are, because of the fact that he knows, who they are and everything. Lance agrees to testify in spite of the danger to himself, but Laurel isn't hearing it. She doesn't feel that this is his place to do this, and that this is kind of they're kind of in, the losing fields here. Like, no matter what happens, they're gonna lose. It's just that simple. I feel like Laurel thinks, this isn't really his battle to fight. He's not really the one going through this, but he would be a good one to do it, because obviously he's the one that's been working with Darhk, but Darhk can flip it around him and say, hey, you were the one that took the opportunity. Of course, Lance can say that he was manipulated by Darhk to do things, but then Darhk can say, he took the opportunity and he didn't turn it down. And of course, there were reasons why Lance did this, but he's just going to dig himself in a hole she doesn't want to do, that she doesn't want to get himself into, and I can understand why she doesn't really want him to testify. I can understand that, definitely. So Felicity calls the location of Cupid, who has taken another celebrity couple hostage. She's driving them around a limo, which Team Arrow pursues through Pennytown. Thea, clinging to the roof of the limo, is injured when it crashes through a garage. Oliver tells Diggle to look after his sister, drives his motorcycle into a warehouse where he causes the limo to crash, but Cupid has already left it and is using the car as a distraction. And after she hits him a few times, he manages to tie her up with a bolo arrow. She slips her bonds and escapes while he's focused on saving the hostages, and Team Arrow figures out that she's targeting celebrity couples, while Felicity is being unsubstantially furious. I mean, she's really upset with what's going on here, definitely, you can tell, and she's not really hiding it, which I don't have a problem with her hiding it. Don't hide it. Don't hide that you're upset. You have every right to be upset. You want to rage? By all means, rage. Do it. You have a right to be upset. I mean, other times, yeah, it's been kind of, she's been overreacting a bit, but with this, no, she has every right to be pissed at what's going on. So Thea and Diggle tell Oliver to ask her to come back to him, and, if you remember what happened, Oliver really is upset with what's going on. You can tell he really just want to make things right, but Felicity knows that, this is going to take a while, and I think Oliver just isn't thinking about that. So in the flashback, the man Raider shoots dies, and his soul enters the idol on the altar, Eritrea reaches out to it, not Eritrea from the Shannara Chronicles, that show I stopped watching. And a tattoo on his arm glows. He says that he's absorbing the power of a single life, instructs his gunmen to kill the rest of them topside. I have absolutely no idea what's going on in this storyline. I'm sorry. I have no idea what's going on here. I have nothing to say, and I'm sorry. I have no idea what's going on in the storyline, and I literally at this point have no idea where they are trying to take the flashbacks. I mean, I thought they were trying to explore Oliver's darker side, then I thought the Raider was going to expose Oliver, but now that we know Raiders has like this power inside of him, what the fuck? Where's this all coming from, and where are they going? Because I don't know where they're going with this, honestly. I can't tell you where any of this is headed, because I honestly have no idea. So, yeah, I have nothing to say with the flashbacks, and that's why I'm not going to say a lot, because, like I said, I have no idea what's going on in this story. So at Laurel's apartment, Lance comes to see her, asking about her potential witnesses from Oliver's holiday party, and when she says none of them agreed to testify and then she can't get immunity from her father, Lance says that they want to testify anyway, that he doesn't care. He doesn't care that she's worried about him. He wants to testify. And finally she agrees, but on the condition that he says he acted under duress. He doesn't have to, he has to lie and say what happened to make them look as safe as possible and to make sure that they don't lose from this, because she knows that they could lose really, really hard. I mean, definitely. There's no, Reyes or anything or anyone like that, of course, because this isn't Daredevil where there's like a Reyes character. But you know how strong Darhk is, and you know how well he is manipulating people and getting people on his side. He's not, it's not very hard for him to do that. He just does that so well, and that's when Neil McDonaghu's killing it in this role. I mean, just add. But I think Laurel knows that they have to be as careful as possible, because she knows that they don't really stand a chance against him, but they at least want to try, and I like that. So at the lair, Felicity's analyzed a scrap of Cupid's costumes to determine that she's likely hiding out on a long-term storage facility for wedding dresses, and the team heads to the location. Diggle finds a corner of the room set up as a shrine. They find Oliver and Felicity's engagement announcement, which he takes to the lair and suggests that they get married to move the target off an innocent couple and onto them. Now, obviously, Felicity, one, doesn't want to make herself a target, two, wants nothing to do with Oliver right now, really. I mean, she obviously is very pissed, but she agrees because this is going to lure Cupid to them. And of course, Cupid's not just going to kill Oliver and Felicity. Oliver's the reason she's doing this, because Oliver turned her down. That's why Cupid is doing this. It's revenge, not revenge, but it's kind of her acting with her emotion of what Oliver did to her. That's really what this is all about. Oliver turned her down, so she's killing a bunch of couples that are happy, then she's not. So they decide to leak that there's a private secret wedding going on. Of course there's not, but, they have to keep up the charade, and I like that. Again, this was very mature. Like, of course they didn't really want to do this, but they kind of have to, because it's the only way they're going to get Cupid, they're going to lure Cupid to them, obviously. So I like seeing that, thought that was well done, and I like that they handle this in a mature way. So in the flashback, Oliver and Tino run out of the cave to run through, get a call on the CB radio from Raider saying that he's going to come after them if they don't come back, and again, I have no idea what's going on here, don't even ask me. In court, Lance admits to everything he did for Darhk on cross-examination. They can't poke a hole in his argument because he points out that he's destroying his career and probably his life by doing so. He is. He knows, that his job is at stake. He knows his life is at stake, but he doesn't care. He needs to tell them what Darhk has put him through. And in many ways, Lance, I understand, people are saying, oh, you don't really have a reason to be upset about this, but Darhk did ask him to do some things that he really didn't want to do, and he was kind of forced to, again, to protect Laurel. That's why he did this. Remember, it was to protect his daughters. That's really what it was all about. He wanted to protect Laurel, and of course, when he realized Sarah was around, he wanted to protect her as well. So at Oliver and Felicity's wedding venue, there's no sign of Cupid yet. Felicity enters, Oliver's blown away, and Felicity's impatient, and even though they're broken up, Oliver still loves her. You can tell. He still loves her, even though they're broken up right now and they aren't really seeing eye to eye. He still loves her. They're just on a break right now, and the Justice of the Peace tells them that they have written their own vows, and while Felicity's are perfunctory, Oliver's are in depth and heartfelt, and it's a really interesting scene because I really feel these are the vows that he probably would have said to her, and you can tell that he really did want to marry her. Like, he really was serious about it, and he didn't want to have to cancel their wedding. And Felicity's, obviously, they're very scripted, but his, you can tell, really comes from the heart, and it really is what he wanted to say. It's a very sweet scene. It shows that these two, even though they're broken up, they still do love each other, and Felicity's about to respond tearfully, and I was thinking, oh shit, they're gonna get back together, like, really quickly, But then Cupid shows up, starts shooting arrows. She fires one right at Oliver, seemingly piercing his heart, then sets up a device that she says will bring down the building on top of Felicity. Oliver gets up, revealing that his bodyguard insisted on Kevlar. She asks what their plan is for the explosives, and after monologue about her broken heart, she says that she's just cutting out the middleman, the whole death do us part thing, which, let me just add how amazing the actress is that plays Cupid. I don't know who plays her, but she's so good in this role. Like, you really feel that she wanted to be with Oliver, and she didn't get to be, and she has this broken heart, and she's gonna go after literally anyone that's in love because she can't stand it, and she's basically trying to tell them that love is, nothing. Love means nothing, and she's just pissed that everyone's in love but her. And yes, she's crazy. She does a great job of playing crazy, though. She's crazy, she's disturbing, and she just did such a great job in this episode. The actress that plays her just is one of the best, I think, of any of the standalone villains. That's the thing with Cupid. She could have been a one-episode villain, but she's so great, that's why they had her back in this episode. She definitely, I think, is one of the best villains we've ever had in the show, and she really did a great job here. So Felicity talks her down, saying that love doesn't equal death, that love is life. She delivers a speech that mirrors Oliver's vows, saying that their love gives their life meaning and purpose, and that it's worth living for. And again, a very powerful scene. You have to wonder if these two are going to get back together here. And just as Cupid's about to tearfully submit to Felicity's influence, Team Arrow comes in to stop her. And, they were getting through to her. They really were. They were getting through to what what was going to happen. After tussle, Thea ties her up. Oliver shoots her in the leg. And after the ceremony, Cupid's pulled away by police. Oliver and Felicity talk about their respective admissions. Oliver wants to get together to talk about it, but Felicity doesn't want to commit to a time. I think right now she needs to think, because those vows really did mean something to her, and she knew that these vows, they're not just, this wasn't just something that they, randomly did. This wasn't just random vows that he said just to get it over with. This is truly how he feels about her, and this is truly what he wanted to say to her, and she's touched by this. And I think Felicity's realizing that he really does care about her, and that they really should be together. It's just right now she's going through a lot, and she has a lot to deal with. So Thea comes to reveal the judge is about to render a verdict on the Darhk case, and so Felicity leaves to change out of her wedding dress because they have to go to court. And in the flashback, a pair of Raiders men come after Oliver and Tiana, but the pair disable them, take their guns again, no idea what's going on, whatever. In court, the judge acknowledged that the evidence against Darhk is flimsy, but that Lance's testimony was compelling, and so Darhk's motion to dismiss her being denied, basically, so basically, what Lance said got through to them. Like, they listened to what Lance said, and, Darhk dismissing her, they're gonna deny it, be that, Darhk isn't telling the truth here, and I like seeing that. So at the police department, Lieutenant Pike tells Lance that he's being suspended. As for his badge and gun, Laurel offers to defend him in front of internal affairs, but he tells her to focus on the case, and I think Lance knew this was gonna happen, because, of course, confessing that he was working with the enemy, he obviously knew his job was at stake, and he's now off the case. He's now no longer going to be, he's now no longer going to be, there. He's now, no longer a police officer, which is interesting. It shows how much Lance cares for all of them. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, Lance is the worst character in the show. I've always really liked Lance. I feel like Lance just tries to do the right thing, and he's always struggling with what the right thing really is. He's never really done anything wrong. He teamed up with Darhk to save his daughters, remember? He didn't really do anything wrong. I'm tired of people saying, oh, Lance is so annoying. Definitely. I think he's a great actor, really. I think he's a great actor, a great character, and I've always really liked Lance. I don't know why people dislike him so much, but I feel like this is setting the stage for his death. Like I said, I do think Lance is going to be the one to go. And even though we got those photos of, someone dead and Lance is in the picture, that doesn't mean anything, because that could be a dream sequence, it could be a flashback, it could be literally anything. It might not be the death, because they're not going to release photos of the death. I don't feel like they do that. The show's not stupid enough to actually send photos of the death. I don't think that's what that is. I heard people say it could be a flashback of when, like, Laurel, when, like, some, a relative died or something like that. I don't think that this is, for the actual death. I don't think that's what it's for. So I think it's a flashback of some sort. I don't know what flashback, but I think that's what it's really for. So I do think Lance is still optional. I do think he's going to die. Lance or Laurel at this point. Lance or Laurel, one of the Lances, they're gonna die, and it's gonna happen. One of the Lance families is gonna be broken, and I definitely see that happening. So back at the lair, Oliver's watching the news when Felicity comes to see him, and he tells her that he meant everything he said in the wedding, and Felicity says she loves him, but she can't marry him. She says that no matter, and I love the way this was done. Again, so mature. Again, they could have made this where they're just yelling at each other, but they really handle this in such a mature way, and I'm really impressed the way that Arrow is handling this because again, it seemed like this was gonna be something where I was worried. I was like, I don't want any more yelling. I don't want them to act like teenagers, and they're not. This is a genuine situation. She says no matter how much he loves her, there will always be a part of him that defaults back to the man who was stuck on the island alone and came to the city alone. She believes he'll never truly be able to change, and she apologizes, but she says that she was wrong when she convinced him that they could have it all, and she just feels that he'll always be this man that wants to change, but he's never going to be able to fully change because of demons from his past. And even though he wants to, she can't go through with it. And she tells Oliver that she's leaving Team Arrow because it's too hard to be around it but not be with him. And, that was the whole reason she stuck around, because she was with him, and she tells him that they'll be fine without her, that there's no fixing what's wrong with the relationship. She says she doesn't want to let him go, but she's already gone, and she loves him. She does, and that's the reason why she's doing this. She loves him because she feels that he's better off without her, which is really sad, but you understand why she has to leave. I mean, she just doesn't feel like she's a part of this team anymore. She doesn't feel like she needs to be a part of this anymore, and she's not feeling like she's part of Team Arrow anymore. She's just feeling like, she's kind of an afterthought. Like, she plans things out, but now that her and Oliver are together anymore, she feels kind of insignificant, which I don't blame her for, and I can totally understand why she's going through that. Great scene. I love the way that was done, and Emily Britt Richards really sold that scene. I mean, she did such a great job there. Amazing stuff, and it's sad. You can definitely tell that Oliver wants to move back. Like, he wants to get back together with her, and he wants to marry her, but right now she can't. And do I think it's going to last forever? No. I do think at some point Felicity's going to get over it, but right now she just needs to be by herself, and Oliver kind of needs to figure some things out, because there's a lot of things that he tried to change, and there's just parts of him that I think aren't going to be able to change, and definitely very interesting. But then the ending of this episode, really weird. I don't really know what this is about. We see Darhk is escorted to his cell. He pulls a ring out of his mouth, places it on his finger, and it looks like he's meditating and smiles, and I don't know where he got this ring, if this was the ring that was Oliver and Felicity's, if he took this ring. I don't know what Darhk is playing, but he's clearly going to escape out of jail. He's not going to be there forever. I can clearly see him breaking out of jail very soon. Then that's how the episode ends. And guys, overall, a great episode. I really did enjoy this episode. I can understand when some people say that Cupid was a bit, didn't have a lot to do here, but she really wasn't the main focus of this episode. The main focus of this episode was what this breakup has done to Oliver and Felicity, and how even though they're together, they're not really together. Like, fundamentally, they're still on the same level and they still want to be together, but it's just too complicated now, because now Felicity knows what he's been through, and she knows everything that's happened to him, and she doesn't really feel like he's changed at all. She feels like he's still that same man that he was a couple years ago, which he's not. I mean, he's not that playboy, sleeping with every girl, things like that, but there are just sides of him, I think, that she thinks aren't going to be able to change, and this is one of them, where he doesn't tell, where he hides things. She's obviously very upset about that, and I think it's more that he hid it from her, and again, it's not that because he hid it from her, it's because he told literally everyone else except her, and she feels like there's something wrong with her. I think that's really what it's all about, and she also feels that he's better off without her. Like, he doesn't need her in her life, which is really sad, but I feel like Oliver really wants to move forward. Like, he does want to be with Felicity, but they just can't really be together right now, which really sucks, and I really do feel bad for them. It's honestly really sad. I mean, like I said, they could really be overdoing it, but I think they're handling it to a point where it's not too much, it's just enough, and they're showing really why, this couple can't really be together right now, and I'm sure at some point they will be, but right now they just can't. Lance losing his job, I'm proud of him for doing that, honestly, because he's not upset. He knew this was going to happen. He knew what the stakes were. He just wanted to state his case. He wanted to state what he was going through. He wanted to state what, what this maniac Darhk did to him, and that he's the one that is innocent, and that Darhk isn't the innocent one. And luckily, Darhk was sent to jail, but there were consequences for what Lance did, and like I said, I do think Lance is going to be a goner. I think if Darhk gets out of jail, he's going to go after Lance, he's probably going to kill him, and I think that's probably what's going to happen. So, Darhk gets out of jail, definitely be very careful careful watch of Lance or Laurel, because obviously they were the ones that were the big part of this case, and he definitely is going to get his revenge. This is not the end of this. He's going to get his revenge, and just you wait. I mean, it's going to be crazy to see what happens there. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's going to be really crazy, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. I love Cupid in this episode as well. I thought she was a great character. I hope we see more of her, but I like the way that they had her in this episode. But again, she wasn't the point. The point of this episode was not to show Cupid. The point of this episode was to show, again, what Oliver has done to this woman, just like what he did to Felicity. They're both dealing with heartbreak, but just in different ways. Cupid deals with it in a violent, immature way that she deals with it with violence, while Felicity deals deals with it with feelings, and you really see that with these two. And the way that they kind of compared those two, I thought was really cool, and I definitely really appreciate that. Really great stuff with Cupid and Felicity. Really do commend them for handling this the way they did. Like I said, I think they're going in a very mature direction with this storyline, and I really do commend them for doing that. But overall, guys, great episode. Nothing wrong with this episode. Absolutely love this episode. Definitely really great episode. Let me know what you guys saw this episode, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of The Americans, which I am so hyped for. You guys know I love last week's premiere. I think this episode is going to be amazing, and I don't know if Pastor Tim's going to survive because the episode's called Pastor Tim. We'll have to see, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.